4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, hello, willkommen, bienvenue, konnichiwa. It's time for the Armist Inquisition, yet again, episode 190 on Sunday the 27th of June. I'm Amish Phil.
I'm Amish Ben.
Sorry, Ben, I had you muted. Who are you?
It's probably for the best. I'm Amish Ben.
And I'm Amish Matt.
I've been the intro as well. I had the audio channels muted, so if you're watching on video, that will have been surreal. But never mind, the audio will have been fine. Okay, right. Well, tonight's guest is an author, researcher, podcaster, actor. Anything I missed, George? International man of mystery?
I'm pretty much covered. Appreciate it.
Yeah, George Lunsford. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Doing great. How are y'all?
Very well, thank you. It's been a glorious day in Lancashire today.
It has been nice, hasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, we didn't bring you here to talk about the weather.
No.
Your podcast. You've rebranded your podcast, Odd and Unusual Tales, I believe it's called.
It is, yes. I've changed it. I'm going to expand it out a little bit, give a little bit of historical stuff, everything from strange things in history, like my first podcast will be Stalin trying to create the super soldier by humans and gorillas.
Wow. And you're covering all sorts of paranormal, cryptids. I mean, how do you decide what subject you're going to cover? Because there's that much to go on.
Well, I figure if I give it a wide name, I can have a wide subjects. I can use serial killers, UFOs, any unusual, strange stories I can jump in.
Excuse me. Yeah. And you're an author as well?
Yes, sir.
You've been writing a series of books. I think the fourth one's come out quite recently, hasn't it? A couple of weeks ago?
Yes, sir. I've been the last one in the series, and I'll start some other stuff.
That's the one. Legends, myth, monsters, and ghosts.
Yep. I covered the United States, and I actually threw in some from overseas. I threw in one from England and Vietnam and China and France, and Africa, and a few other places.
All right. Which one from England was it? Do you remember? Top of your head?
The story of George and the Dragon.
Nice.
Right. So this falls under myth, I guess. Myth and legend.
Yep.
And there's sort of quite a bit of sort of esoteric baggage with George and the Dragon, isn't there?
Yep. I couldn't pass it up. I've heard the story of George and the Dragon all my life. My name's George, so that's the place.
Did you did you find out sort of where the origins for this story come from?
I did. And I put everything in there. Hopefully I didn't butcher it too much.
Yeah. It's something we don't really... I mean, I suppose it's one of the foundation myths, isn't it, of our culture? George and the Dragon.
Yeah, we don't really talk about it much, do you, at school or whatever?
No, well, I think it's quite... things sort of since the Enlightenment, things are just written off when it comes to mythology, aren't they? And the value and the meaning are discarded as superstition and or fiction.
You guys have such great myths and stories over there. It was hard to pick just one to do. I mean, you got the Black Dog and several other things over there that just, from the long history of the UK, it just fell out everywhere. I mean, there's stories all over the place from there.
Yeah, well, we have a lot more history. I mean, the United States is a relatively new country, and I noticed in your books that you've drawn on Native American myth and legend as well.
Oh, very much so, yeah. The good thing about pulling on the Indians' stories is as they pass the stories down, they never change. you hear it now, it's the same as what it's told to begin with. That there's no variation at all. It's real pure. It's a great place to get stories from. Where everybody else is watered down and things added to it and things taken away, and you got different variations of all the other stories.
It's an interesting point, that, because the skill, if you like, of oral tradition is something that we've lost in the modern West, isn't it? It's we find it difficult to believe how 2,000 years ago, for example, a story which seems so long, so intricate, that's so full of detail, could have been passed down from generation to generation without the old Chinese whispers, or telephone, you call it in the United States, without bits being changed and whatnot.
Yeah, and it really is truly a lost art, because all the Indians, tribes, they still do that. They actually still teach a lot of their myths and legends in schools. At least I know the Cherokee do, because I'm out of Cherokee all the time. But we don't. When I was young, we did. We would pass them down from grandfather to father to son. But now it's a lost art. That's why I wanted to write the series of books, so that I could get people interested in doing it again.
Yeah, and to make a record of these things as well, because that's one danger, I suppose, with myths and legends that are transmitted orally, is that they're susceptible to being lost.
Yeah, and I wanted to do one for overseas, for the UK and all the Europe and China and Russia and all that. But I'm going to put that on hold, and I'm going to jump on some supernatural horror.
Do the Native Americans use song as well to transmit these stories?
Not like we used to. They still do, but nothing like what we used to do.
Because that's a common thing in the UK, particularly with Wales. They had the Welsh Bards, and a lot of the Arthurian legends, the King Arthur stuff, comes down from Welsh Bards transmitting the story.
Yeah.
And it's quite clever, because when we're teaching our kids the alphabet, we don't say, okay, this is the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We go A, B, C, D, E, F. And as soon as you use a melody with the information, it becomes so much easier to learn and then transmit. And that's something that the Welsh Bards do, and how they used to transmit a lot of their storytelling.
Yeah. When I was was in Cardiff, Wales, when I was in the Navy. When we were in the pubs and stuff, they would do that. They would sing some of the Bard's tales and some of the legends and stuff like that when I was over there.
Yeah, a lot of Celtic culture has been preserved in that sense. If you go to Ireland particularly, they're very, protective? Is that the right word? They're very proud, aren't they, of the native culture?
Well, yeah, and for a long time it was suppressed, wasn't it, by us, the English, I suppose. Not necessarily us too, but
not us. No.
But the English generally, wasn't there? And then after that, there was an explosion. So, in terms of like Irish culture, the Gaelic language, and all the rest of it. So, at the beginning of the last century, I guess, when it kind of got independence. And when we've been over, I know that when we've been over together and stuff, mainly to go on the piss, but you always go into a pub and people are singing folk songs and things like that, aren't they? So yeah. There's definitely a different kind of culture around it, I would say, between
absolutely
here and there.
Yeah, and a lot of them use traditional instruments, musical instruments. They have traditional sports.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't adopted to the same degree the same sports of us. They use is it hurling?
Is it hurling? There's definitely Gaelic football, isn't there?
Yeah,
and
the one with the stick. It's a bit like lacrosse, isn't it?
I think that's hurling, isn't it?
Yeah,
fighting with sticks.
Yeah, sort of a cross between MMA and ice hockey.
Probably, yeah.
And it seems to me that a lot of the sort of modern folklore, cryptozoology, if you like, a lot of it seems quite modern. And I wondered, you know, if you let's take an example. Let's take something like Dogman, for example. I mean, is this quite a modern phenomenon? Or does it have this sort of heritage that George and the Dragon or King Arthur has?
No, it doesn't have the deep roots like George and the Dragon, but it goes back. Regular Dogman reportings go back to probably about, I'm thinking around the 1950s.
Right. What sort of area?
They're all over the place. We're getting reports. I've been reading reports from like 6 or 8 different states on a constant flow. I mean, we even hear that there's a Dogman reports.
And are they fairly consistent, these reports, despite the wide-ranging geography?
There is, and I think the difference is these reports. It's almost like they're bleed off from werewolf reports that come from over in England back in the Middle Ages. It was born there and it was brought over here with the English and the Germans, and it's developed into a Dogman man now instead of a werewolf, because the difference is, according to the history of a wolf man, or you change back to a human. Well, Dogman don't. Dogman is a species all of its own.
Wow.
Not to be confused with myself. If I was to take my t-shirt off right now.
Yeah, he's quite hairy.
Yeah, I'm a hirsute man, aren't I?
Yeah, Wookiee-like. I've heard you been referred to.
Yeah, that's why I keep it close with the shave. Otherwise, it'd be too much.
How much of these Dogman reports, I want to say, are people jumping on the bandwagon to a degree?
To a degree, yeah. Right now, cryptic creatures are huge all over the world. There's been more reports being issued. There's been more photographs and videos, just simply because everybody carries a video camera now.
Yeah.
On the internet.
Yeah, I mean, you would think this is one thing that sort of troubles me with some of the Bigfoot stuff, is that you would think with the amount of people who have, a HD camera in their pocket, you would think that by now we would have something conclusive. Would you not think, George?
Well, I think the big thing with Bigfoot is that until they actually put a body on a slab and they can go, this is a Bigfoot, here he is, no questions asked, there's never going to be a scientific agreement on what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think what some people probably maybe don't realize is just how big an area the Pacific Northwest is.
Oh, it's even here. You figure I live in the Appalachian Mountains. It's one of the oldest mountain ranges in America. And we have Bigfoot sightings here a lot. By school, by, open areas, crossing roads, stuff like that.
Wow. It's weird, isn't it?
I think it's cool. I love Bigfoot. Bigfoot's probably one of my favorite ones.
Well, I think it all start? Was it the Patterson-Gimlin? I'm going to screw the name up. Patterson-Gimlin or something footage? Was that the big sort of thing that sparked this interest off?
It did. Well, it all started with some footprints that were found before that. And Roger Patterson was obsessed with these footprints. It took him months and months and months to actually go on this expedition where they accidentally found Bigfoot. I mean, it was all just total coincidence.
Now, it's quite a controversial video, isn't it?
It was until they released the 4K or 8K version of it. And you can actually see the muscle lines. You can see there's no seams, everything. I mean, they really broke it down. Even the way the foot comes up. If you look at the foot, it comes up flat like this. For a human's foot, it comes up like this. Our foot swings in this motion, and that one comes up and then back down and up and back down. To hold movement for your foot than what a regular human has.
Right. So I mean, I want to see like some anthropologists go into this and like study the gait and the movement, and I mean,
I've watched a few reports from some anthropologists, and they saying that there's a myocardial break in the foot, like what a bear would have, like in the middle of the foot instead of the back. That's why when you have the footprints, it's a flat footprint at the middle, maybe raised a little bit, because that's the way the foot bends, unlike a regular human foot.
Right. Oh, cracky. Is this a hobby of yours? Do you go squatching?
Not yet. I want to go, but I work a full-time job, so it's kind of hard to do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. I'll tell you one of the sort of interesting phenomena that I've heard discussed that I wanted to get your opinion on was these reported sightings of black-eyed children.
I think they're awesome. It's all a supernatural thing from what I've read and what I've seen about this. I mean, these kids are popping out of nowhere from behind vehicles and stuff when nobody knows they're there. And they actually have some kind of a mental control over the people that they're talking to who will let them in the house or in their vehicle. And that's when all the trouble starts.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, what's the trouble? What do they do?
I've read about attacks. Now, I haven't read about anybody getting killed, but I have read about physical attacks by these kids, so-called kids. And people believe it's either supernatural or aliens, or I've heard all kinds of different things. I don't know that I believe much of them because I haven't seen it myself. I'm weird that way. I want to see it myself.
Okay.
Yeah. Isn't there an aspect of them asking for something, like asking to gain access, a bit like vampires?
Yeah, they have to ask. They can't come in without permission.
That creeps me out. I remember hearing one, and it was this. I think it was a lady, a female, who reported the sighting, and I think it was just a knock at her front door, and she opened the door, and this kid was there, or maybe two kids. And I think they asked to use the telephone. And then on closer inspection, she noticed that they both had completely black eyes and they were acting weird. And she just completely freaked out and slammed the door. Mm-hmm. There was another one in a car. Have you heard the story about asking for a lift home, I think, or in the back of a car or something with the black-eyed child?
Yeah, that's a weird
You
one.
heard this one?
Ben's unmuted, so we got his attention.
No, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say this. They often ask for like a drink of water or something fairly innocuous, or a lift home, or and it's all to try and, I guess, to try and get you to let them into your personal space or whatever.
So, what is the purpose then? Does anybody know?
I think it's to sell timeshares.
Or car warranties.
Yeah. So, George, have you got any real theories as to why they asked for permission? Then, anything you've heard?
It almost makes me wonder if there's not some kind of supernatural thing there, and they're restricted by getting permission.
Yeah.
Like when they make deals with the devil, like in one of my books about the blue. They have to the devil asks him, instead of saying, okay, here's your power, you go do what you need to do. He has to accept it before they have any control over it.
This is a common theme. A lot of people in the sort of conspiracy theory circle, when we're talking about the Illuminati and such, and why did they make it so obvious? Why is it out in the open? Some people believe that they can't hide this stuff from us. They have to do it out in the open because that's it's like a form of consent.
Well, the best way to hide something's in plain sight.
Yeah.
People get used to it. They don't pay attention to it anymore. Makes it easy to do what they got to do.
definitely. I mean, Georgia, have you personally seen any kind of cryptids at all then? Because you said that you mentioned earlier that to kind of believe, you feel that you have to see it with your own eyes. So have you ever seen anything with your own eyes?
I've seen some ghosts and UFOs.
Ghosts, right. Well, should we start with ghosts then?
Sure.
Where have you seen a ghost?
Yeah, my first ghost I seen, I was young.
First?
I was in my bedroom, and my
Yeah.
mother come to me, and I woke up, and all I could see was like my great grandmother, but she was like a translucent. I could see, but she had a certain, I guess, perfume she wore all the time that I could smell. So I knew it was my great grandmother. And she told me that she loved me, and she told me goodbye, that she was going home. Then she did, but the smell was still there, the perfume. Next day I woke up and I found out she had passed away.
No way.
But I've seen a few ghosts. We bought a Ring camera, a doorbell camera, for my front door. And off one night, and me and my wife pulled it up on our phone, and you could see something come out of the middle bedroom. It come out, stopped in front of the Ring. It kind of had a human shape, but it's just fog. And the top part like turned, like it looked at the camera. Then it turned back and walked straight off the end of the porch.
How big was it?
It was probably 5.5 foot tall, 6 foot tall.
And it looked, I mean, did it have like color? Or was it translucent?
It was just like a fog. It was a human-shaped fog, just a single blob. But you could see it where it had like a head and arms, and you could see everything, but you couldn't distinguish it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sort of anthropomorphic. It sounds like a shadow person, doesn't it?
Well, I would say there was a shadow person, but it was white.
Right.
Yeah, and it just turned and walked straight off the porch. We haven't seen it since.
Thank God.
Have you got the video?
I don't. At the time we didn't have the service, we just had the Ring, so it didn't record it. I was so mad too because I wanted to have that forever, but you know.
Yeah. You were saying before we started recording, I think, that you were in the Navy for a spell.
I was, yes, 4 years.
Right, was that from after school, was it? Did you go into the Navy?
I did. I joined right out of high school.
Cool. What were you doing there?
I was a gunner's mate. I basically just shot things.
And they're pretty big guns, George.
Well, I carried an M14, which is a 308 round, and I carried a 45.
Wow. No, I meant the guns on the boat. Can you not shoot the guns on the boat?
Yeah, 76 millimeter. It's kind of anti-aircraft, anti-missile. It was fire, so it'd fire boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Then we had
It's
a missile launcher and a Sea Whiz.
Cool. I mean, you must have seen a lot of the world. I mean, do you see a lot of the world in the Navy, or are you mainly sort of below decks and sort of they don't let you out so much? Do you actually get to experience a lot of the places you visit?
I did. I went to 27 different islands and countries in one war zone.
Wow. Which war zone would it have been?
I went to the Persian Gulf in 88 to 89. We replaced the USS Robinson when they hit the mine and blew it in half. We went in and took her place, and we cruised. We found some mines. We did some escort missions. Got shot at a little bit by some from Iranian bog hammer, a small boat with a machine gun on the front of it. Nothing major.
Do you ever miss the naval life, like the camaraderie? And I bet if it's anything like how I imagine it, there's a lot of joking and a lot of mucking around and winding each other up.
Yeah, I do miss my friends, but we have a reunion almost every other year. I get to go see them.
Cool.
But I had some fun times. I had some not so fun times. Apparently,
well, yeah,
authority. So you know.
Yeah, if you're replacing a boat that's just been blown in half, then I imagine that's quite stressful.
Actually, I enjoyed that part best of all. It's the only time I got to do my job.
Was it like were you on aircraft carriers?
No, my boat was small. It was 453 feet long, and we were just like an FFG, the same ship that got blew up to what we were.
I remember my dad trying to convince me to go into the Navy when I was about 15, and his main argument was they have really nice uniforms. Yeah, it didn't work.
Didn't wash that one, did it?
No. Hey, did you ever go through the Bermuda Triangle when you're in the Navy, George?
Oh, many, many, many times. I had a few experiences there.
I was going to ask. Well, you survived. You didn't get lost, so
I'm too hard-headed. They won't take me.
What kind of experience? What kind of experiences did you have in Bermuda Triangle?
One time we found a tail fin from an F-14 floating in the water, and we pulled it up on the ship, and it looked like it had been laser cut and laid there for us to find. There was hardly no barnacles on it, hardly, and it was just smooth all the way around it. There was no sharp edges on it.
Wow, like a hole had been cut out of the tail fin.
Yeah, and it's set there for us to find. And the aircraft, we run the numbers on it, it had been missing for like, I think it's 4 years. So it should have had all kinds of barnacles and everything else on it. But it wasn't.
And then, I mean, presumably, you know, you guys who are, you know, maybe lower ranking officers, you see all this stuff happening. I mean, do you have to sort of sign things to say we're not going to talk about this, and then it gets taken upstairs and never to be heard of again? How's it work when something weird like that happens on a ship?
Yeah, most people just don't talk about it. I mean, and back then, I mean, this was in the 80s, so everybody thought you was crazy if you talked about something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was, we was in the Bermuda Triangle. Beautiful, beautiful day. Water was just as smooth as silk. No waves. It was just gorgeous. The sun was shining. It was about, I don't know, 70, 75 degrees with a breeze blowing. I was on the aft lookout. And ahead of the ship, there was you could see like a black spot or a gray spot. As the ship got closer to that spot, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. To when we got to it, it was a giant fog wall that went from the water all the way up as high as you could see and as far as you could see on both sides. And as the ship went into this fog, we lost everything electronic, and the compass just started spinning wildly. As each part of the ship went into it, that's what would happen. And we had so much inertia going forward that it just carried us through. And as we come out the other side of it, everything kicked back on normal.
Wow.
Since I was
How long?
on the aft lookout, when I come through it, everything had already kicked back on. But you look back, and there was no fog wall, and the water was choppy, and the whole day was gray.
Wow. How long did it take you to get through to the other side?
Not really long. It was probably, the depth of it, I would say it was probably 500 feet, 600 feet. And that was it. And then when we come out, and when I look back, there was nothing there. I mean, it was all gone.
That's weird. And so, I mean, you did you sort of like have a mate, like a best pal, a best friend who you would talk to things like this about on the ship?
Yeah, I had several friends. We'd talk about stuff. But they just,
What did they?
I blew it off. And at the time I did. I never really thought much about it. It just kind of happened, and we blew it off and went on about our business.
So subsequently, have you ever sort of looked into any of those things you've experienced? Like I don't know if you'd be able to remember sort of like the tail number for the aeroplane, or or looked into sort of like the weather issue.
With the tail fin somewhere around here.
Right. Okay. But have you ever looked into it to see what were the reports were of that plane going down, or if it just lost its tail fin?
Oh no, it went down like 4 years before we found it. They had
Okay.
difficulty. They believe it was magnetic disturbance, and the pilots ejected and were picked up by a naval ship because they were on maneuver.
Okay.
And the plane crashed into the water.
Sorry, it's just when we're talking, his George's mic gets muted for some reason. I don't know. I didn't do this last week.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I mean, what about the Bermuda Triangle? I mean, when did we start? Was it when air travel started? That first reports of the Bermuda Triangle phenomenon started, or does it go back further than that?
Oh,
It's something I know nothing about.
It goes all the way back to like Christopher Columbus. I mean, he reported seeing stuff, lights in the sky. He reported compasses spinning. Ever since we've been traveling through that area, it's been reported. And it's not the only one. There's different spots in different areas, like the Dragon Triangle over by Japan. There's basically the same thing happening there as happening in Bermuda Triangle. It even happens on land, like up in Alaska.
Wow. And so is there any sort of attempted explanations about what's causing this phenomenon at Bermuda Triangle? I'm thinking of like, what do they call it? The magnetic field of the Earth, or I don't know, what's the thing, the weather thing that goes over the ocean?
The jet stream.
Jet streams. I don't know. Has anyone tried to sort of come up with a sort of non-paranormal explanation for this phenomenon?
There's been tons and tons and tons of research done on it, but nothing is conclusive enough to say this is what's causing everything, because it's not happening just on the surface of the water. It's happening in the air and everything. I mean, they come up with methane bubbles for ships sinking. They come up with magnetic storms that throw compasses off. They've come up with all this stuff, but they still can't explain it.
Defies explanation.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to say, if when something has a historical precedent, like you're saying Columbus talking about it, that says to me that there's something going on. And it doesn't have to be something completely paranormal. It's just something that's unexplained. It could have quite a mundane explanation, but the point is that we don't understand it.
That's true. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I've always kind of, when I've read about it, it's always put down to kind of the weather and sort of how quickly it can change there. Sort of go from kind of what you described there, George, from sort of crystal clear to kind of like a storm and foggy within sort of minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that is certainly weird, isn't it, what you kind of described? So have you ever, I suppose, looked into whether that other people have reported a similar thing to what you experienced in terms of that fog wall or fog bank?
Yeah, there's tons and tons and tons of experiences, a lot like what I described.
I guess the fact that a modern vessel has gone through and you describe the instruments playing up, I mean, to me, that suggests an electromagnetic, static, something electrical going on with the atmosphere.
Oh yeah, and you can feel it on your skin because your skin starts tingling, the hair stands up on your arms and on your neck and everything.
Wow, you experienced that as you were going through.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now then, could that be psychological? Because you know you're in the Bermuda Triangle and you see this mad wall of fog. I'm just thinking, could that be something like that just gives you the creeps?
I don't know. So I never really thought about it when I was in the Navy. It never occurred to me, never really clicked in that, hey, we're in the Bermuda Triangle again.
So how many times did you go through it?
Oh, many, many times. Because my ship was stationed off of Charleston, South Carolina. So we went there all the time.
What do you make of, it's been a big weekend as far as an ex-Navy man, the UAP phenomena. You know, it's been big in the news over the last couple of weeks, over the last couple of years, people coming forward from the armed services saying they've seen weird things. We've had the Tic Tac video. And then I think it was Trump, wasn't it, about 6 months ago, announced that he wanted this report doing. And it's come to light, I think, this weekend. Have you looked into this yet?
Not enough, but I believe everything I've read and from all the people that I've read the stuff from, they're too credible to just say, no, that don't happen. I mean, you got these real high-ranking people that have seen this stuff. They've got them on video. It's not a regular video. It's from the cockpit of an aircraft. And it's just, it's amazing. It really is. What's about the Tic Tac video is that when we were coming back from Illinois, me and my wife, we were at 37,000 feet, and we seen a silver object at 37,000 feet across from our plane that had no wings. It looked like a cylinder, and it disappeared just in a blink of an eye.
Wow. Did any of the other passengers see it? Did you shout, say, whoa, look at that thing?
Well, my wife seen it, and she goes, what is that? And I looked, and she reached down to get her camera, and by the time she brought the camera up, it disappeared. I mean, it was just like, poop, it was gone. And I know it wasn't a drone because, like I said, it's at 37,000 feet over a civilian area. So there was no reason for a military drone. It had no wings. And it was just a 30-second blip.
What do you think's the most likely explanation? Let's take the Tic Tac video for an example. If I had to ask you to put a bet on, what do you think that phenomena is?
Oh, I have no doubt it's alien. I really don't. There is over 1 million Earth-like planets just in our solar system. So,
yeah.
And Earth, when you measure the age of Earth compared to some of those other ones, Earth is relatively young compared to some of the other planets that they have found that are in a Earth-like orbit around their suns. Plus, they're huge. They're much bigger than Earth. And it just makes more sense that, they're going to be more advanced if they're 1 million years older than we are, that they're going to be more advanced than we are.
If they've managed not to self-destruct like our civilization threatens to do every now and again.
Yeah.
I figure we're a circus act to them. So,
So you're not buying the future humans coming back? Because a lot of people think that the Greys are, like the classic Greys are more highly evolved humans, essentially.
I guess anything's possible. I wouldn't discount anything right now until we actually get the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've got to think if we take this premise that it is alien visitation, I've got to think, well, what's the motive? Are they sort of weighing us up so they can strip us of our resources? Like
our
why?
PlayStations.
Yeah, or is it, the way we go to the safari park or the zoo? They just come in and sort of visiting and say, oh, look at these primitive fuckers.
I kind of lean towards that one.
What do you think? Why would they sort of bother with us?
Well, we're reaching a point now, since 1969, we're reaching a point to where we're expanding farther and farther out. I mean, now we're at Mars, we're dropping rovers. They're talking about colonizing Mars. We're showing that we're moving farther out towards them. Maybe they're getting more and more curious about, who's coming out here, because they've been dominant for so long. And who knows? They just may want to use Earth for a hub. Stop over, drink a beer, and leave. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I kind of think. I wonder if it's like the Prime Directive, from Star Trek. If it is, they've kind of blown it because they're not meant to interfere, are they?
No.
Yeah, I think they blew that one.
Yeah, because I mean, and it's not that modern a phenomena. If you look at like Charles Fort and stuff, we've got reports of strange objects being seen in the sky for, at least a couple of 100 years.
Well, if you look at some of the Egyptian paintings and some of the paintings, they're actually in the paintings.
Are we going to Ancient Aliens?
No, that show it seems to stretch it a little bit more than what I believe.
We've never got anybody on to endorse. Oh, we have had one guest to endorse Ancient Aliens, haven't we? But most people say they're not having it. Ancient Aliens.
I've watched it, and this just seems like they're really stretching it on some stuff.
Yeah, I've got my feet firmly on the ground. I think it's the Greys.
The Greys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, you raise a good point about the what would you say, the credibility of the witnesses that we've had with these military sightings and these things that have been declassified. And when we talked to Terry Lovelace about, he held on to his story for decades because of this stigma and this sort of fear of people coming forward because, without wanting to be harsh, it's been sort of the butt of a joke. It's been people have been made a laughing stock, haven't they, when they've come forward?
Oh yeah, careers.
You can't overestimate the effect that has on people and their willingness to come forward with stories, whatever the explanation is.
That's true.
It was like, because there was no way he was an assistant attorney general or something, wasn't he, Terry? Yeah,
he had quite a prominent role in public office, and he, from what I remember, he felt like he would be putting his credibility in jeopardy by coming forward with something like this, which is a real shame, to be honest. And it makes you wonder how many other people are holding on to stories and not coming forward with them.
Well, I think, fortunately, since this Tic Tac episode, with the government releasing those files, I think you're going to see a lot more come forward.
And I suppose, do people who've got to know you and your kind of podcasts and your books and stuff, do they start contacting you? Because I know a lot of people that we've spoken to, when they start writing about these things or they have certain experiences and write about themselves or go on podcasts and whatever, lots of people begin to contact them. So have you had that?
A few, not a lot. I would love people to do it more often. I love stories about, whether they have some kind of encounter with a cryptid or a ghost or a UFO. I love it. So if they want to contact me, they can contact me anytime through my website.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll put the link in the description if anyone wants to contact George.
Yeah.
The website will be there as well. We'll put all the links for social media. You're on Instagram, aren't you, I think?
I am. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we'll put the links in the show notes if anyone wants to contact you and give you some scoops, some cryptid scoops.
Enjoy it.
Are you going to write any more books, George? Did you say?
I am. After I do the supernatural horror I'm going to do, after I do that story, then I may jump back on the legends and stuff.
Was that? Did you say? Did you say that was a fiction book you're going to work on next?
Yeah, it's kind of it's supernatural, a horror. So
right.
I don't know how to say it though without giving it away. It's how can I word it? It is an avenger, spiritual avenger that comes to make these people pay a price.
Oh wow!
And boy, do they pay a price.
Sounds like Amish Phil.
Well,
yeah, it does. Yeah,
well, that's pretty.
And
cool.
I like
eat up by I can't think what I was trying to say now. A brush chopper.
Sorry, say again.
He runs one of the people to a brush chopper.
Oh God! Oh, is that like a wood chipper?
Yep.
Oh God! I'm not that kind of guy.
Well, I don't know.
I've not put anyone through a wood chipper.
That's actually one of the nice deaths that happened in this book.
Oh.
I mean, apparently I've confess I was reading about books. You've sort of delved into true crime as well, haven't you?
Some of it, yeah. I did like H.H.R. Holmes, where
who's
he built a hotel made just to kill people.
Oh, I think I've vaguely sort of know this story, but please tell me, remind me.
Oh, it's a fun story. He goes up to Chicago and he smoozes this woman and her husband that has a pharmacy. Well, he gets hired by them, and he smoozes the wife until the husband disappears, and then the wife disappears, and he gets the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he owns a pharmacy, so he buys the property across from the pharmacy and builds a hotel right before the World's Fair in Chicago to kill people.
Yes.
Hotel, he has all the rooms designed. He has like 5 different contractors, so none of them ever knows what the other one's doing. He has trap doors built in. He has gas lines that stop inside the room. All this stuff done, and it actually drops the people from the rooms down into the basement where he does experiments on their bodies. So this is all real.
Mm.
He kills them and everything. But the funny thing is, he wasn't originally arrested for killing the people.
Why was he arrested?
Well, he left Chicago before the police got him. And he was found in Texas where he was arrested for being a horse thief.
Yeah.
What an anticlimax.
And
yeah.
all back to what happened, and they got him.
I thought you were going to say tax evasion, because that's normally how they get them. John McAfee this week.
Mm.
You know, John McAfee didn't Epstein himself.
Oh, yeah, I know. And the building collapse.
Oh, yeah. A lot of strangeness. It's just been a very strange week, hasn't it?
It has.
As far as news goes.
Yeah.
You know, we've had the UAP sort of disclosure non-event. McAfee killing himself. Steel reinforced multi-story buildings collapsing at, what looked like controlled demolition. It's just everything. There seems to be, I think we're at the end times. I think they're pretty close.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
No. How's life been? What state did you say you're in, George?
I am in North Carolina.
North Carolina. How have the because it's interesting when we talk to people from the states, because the different states have taken different attitudes to the virus of unspecified origin that we've been living under. How's it been in North Carolina?
Ridiculous.
How so?
The whole deal with, fortunately they lifted all our restrictions finally. We don't really have any restrictions now. But when you look at what the virus is, and they want you to wear a little paper mask all the time, it's ridiculous, because you're talking about a microscopic virus that can easily go through the mask. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah, particularly when you've been wearing it for more than 10 minutes and it gets wet.
Yep, exactly.
I saw a picture of someone wearing one in the sea. It's like, what is going on? Why? I mean, we've been under assault, haven't we, for the last 15 months when it comes to the media and propaganda and messaging. And it just makes you wonder, when you see a photo of someone wearing a face mask in the sea, if this damage is permanent.
I really think the brain damage is.
Yeah, I think it might be lack of oxygen to the brain. Maybe that's the cause of the problem. So you're back. So you're relatively back to normal. Are all the stores open?
They're all open, but the problem is they can't.
What's left of them?
Yeah, they can't get anyone to work. Nobody wants to go back to work.
Really?
Don't want to go back to work. So how? What do you mean by that?
Right now the government's paying them extra to make up for not working, and they're drawing more employment than what they are if they work.
Yeah. So yeah.
Me, I'm not that lucky. I work, and I never stopped through the whole thing. So we actually were working overtime.
Yeah, we played a clip the other week from Yolanda Bhattacharya, wasn't it? Who talked about trickle-down epidemiology, in that the sort of the middle classes, the highly educated people, have been shielded, while the sort of lower paid, lower class manual workers, people who work in essential services like the power grid, health, they've been sent forward and carry on as normal, and they've taken the brunt of what's been going on over the last 18 months. Yeah, and now you're struggling to get people to get back in the saddle and get back working again.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're suffering from a similar thing.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's an unusual experiment, isn't it, that we've run, paying people, to stay at home. I mean, a lot of people hate their jobs, and why would they want to go back to work if they're going to get paid to sit on their arse and watch Netflix all day?
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good, but it's unsustainable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unsustainable for the economy that we have. Yeah,
we had,
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. How do you think it's going to pan out? Do you think are the rest of the states following suit and opening up now?
Most of them are, yeah, except for some of the northern states and some of the ones out far west, like California, Oregon, Washington, New York, some places up towards Michigan and stuff like that. But they're I don't know. I'll be nice.
Yeah, it's. Sorry, say again.
I said I'll be nice.
Yeah, it's a difficult subject because, well, I just think the world's gone mad basically for the last year and a half, and I think historians are going to have a field day with 2020.
Oh yeah,
picking over the remains and the bones for the next 50 years or so.
The good thing is it makes Bigfoot look sensible.
Every cloud.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think we should wrap up. We're rocking up to an hour already, George.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's been fun. We've not done any cryptids for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we didn't really talk much about cryptids actually, did we?
No.
But yeah, I'm gonna look into the Bermuda Triangle. You've piqued my interest. What's your next podcast episode? What's the subject of that going to be?
It will be the Stalin trying to create the superhuman.
That sounds right up my alley.
Scotland, did you say?
Stalin. Not Scotland. Oh my word. Yeah. Oh, genetic. I wonder if that runs into sort of East Germany. And do you remember the drugs, the Olympics?
Yeah.
Yeah, could be the Ubermensch.
The Ubermensch. That's
well, whatever.
One of the funny part of this, he did the experiments about trying to create human hybrids using gorilla and humans, and after that was when they started having the sightings of the wild man.
in Siberia. Cool. Well, I'm going to listen to that. It sounds right up my alley.
I'm going to record it.
You're going to record?
I'll record that episode Monday.
Excellent. So,
good.
You know what to do, listeners. Go and subscribe to Odd and Unusual Tales podcast.
Yes.
I'll put a link in the description anyway. I'll take it. It's on all the usual podcast platforms, George.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Podcast Addict I'm using at the moment. It's a solid app.
Right.
Yeah. So go and subscribe to it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been nice to meet you. Again, check out all the links in the descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
Stay on the line for us for 1 minute, George, while we play ourselves out.
I'll do it. Thank you very much.
No problem. Nice to see you. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Just try.
Take care.